Thank you, Rosa. It's my exciting duty to bring you back to the thrilling world of stored grain beetles. This project is very much about improving the efficiency of monitoring and surveillance for stored grain beetles using multiple lures on single Lindgren funnel traps. So when we use aggregation pheromones to monitor pest activity, we have to be pretty careful about their interactions. There are some published cases where we know the pheromone lures for different beetles adversely affect other lures. For example, the trogodermal lures affect the attraction of tribolium to its pheromone lure. First thing we need to do is just outlining the beetles we were working on. We were looking at 5 different species of beetles. 4 of them are established in Australia and are resistant to phosphine. That's Rhizopertha dominica, Tribolium castaneum, Cytophilus oryzae, which is the rice weevil, and Cryptolestes ferrugineus. We were also looking at one species that is exotic to Australia, Prostephanus truncatus, which is the larger grain borer, and this necessitated some work overseas. The first thing that's very basic to this is, do the individual lures work effectively in their own right? And for Rhizopertha, Tribolium and Prostephanus, we've got data and past experience that says, yes, these lures all do work effectively. Cytophilus is where we had problems with rice weevil. We looked at 3 different commercial lures for rice weevil, and they work in the laboratory where the weevils can walk to them, but in outdoor situations where we're looking to monitor beetle flight activity, they just didn't work. Even when we added known co-attractant compounds with the lures on the traps, we still could not get any Cytophilus, and basically when we did some dispersal studies, we discovered they were really lazy little creatures and they don't like to fly very far. When they do take off, they just don't travel any distance, and we didn't catch a single Cytophilus. So Cytophilus was out of the frame. Cryptolestes, the commercial lure for Cryptolestes, it does work, but the catches we got were quite low. We did a lot of work looking at co-attractants, and we found that if we added 1-octanthreol, which is mushroom alcohol, as a dispenser, the catches with the lure went up 32-fold compared to the lure alone. So we had a great 2-part lure there. We then took it to pairwise tests in Australia, and in Australia and Mozambique, where Prostephanus is present, we did tests with all 4 lures on one trap versus another 4 traps with individual lures. And what came from that, after 73,000 or so small brown beetles gave their lives for science, was that we found there was no antagonism. We could put all 4 lures on the one trap with no problems. With Cryptolestes and Tribolium, we had tiny increases, in fact, but non-significant increases in the numbers that we caught. With Rhizopertha dominica, the lesser grain borer, we had a significant increase when all 4 lures were present. It went up 11%. But probably the most interesting thing is in Mozambique, Prostephanus truncatus, the biosecurity threat species, the captures went up 100%. And basically we're attributing that to the presence of the Cryptolestes lure. We know that is the case with Rhizopertha in Australia, and it's probably the octanol component we've added. We need a bit more work on Prostephanus to determine if it actually is the octanol component, but it's highly likely. So the answer for this is yes, we can do it. We can put all the 4 lures on. The only thing we can't do is put in an effective lure to attract flying Cytophilus, because they just don't seem to want to fly. Thank you.